understanding of the policy. Can you mute yours? I'm not even on it. Oh, are you there? I mean, I can mute something. Can you read it? Yeah, everyone's phones off. That's okay. Yes or no?
Let's talk so she knows.
Okay, we're trying to, okay, we were talking about the Penrose Golden Hill project and, you know, understanding what was planned and understanding the blueprints. And I thought it came out really well. We did, the only, besides the comments for the development, we suggested that the city, no, not the city, but the county, someone, the people that are on the county, because they own most of the rest of Golden Hill, that they look into the issue of flooding in the Glen Street area. And because that's already happening, and the amount of pervious pavement that's going to be, the change in amount of pervious pavement, the new development is actually not that much. And they're taking all the rainwater off the roof and channeling it into planters, and they have other, and then they have the retention pond and so on. So anyway, and that was kind of beyond us, and
they're not required to meet expected increased rain.
right, and that was, they don't have to take into account the expected increase in the frequency and intensity of water protected because of the climate crisis. And that, I don't know.
It's working.
Oh, okay. I don't know if there's anything in this, Ted, that would go to the flood, the 500-year flood zone thing, because that's all DEC on the DEC website and everything. So
Okay.
it was part of the climate resiliency and CRA.
What did you, I'm just curious, because my comments were kind of like rambling, you know?
I hope I got them.
I forgot to check how you synthesize them. I should have, after I realized like I was just sharing a few, but I should have formalized them into comments. But I was wondering, the caveat here is I'm not an expert and I don't know anything about hydrology, but just looking at the terrain map of the Glen Street neighborhood, it seems like there's bigger issues at play than the site itself with the flooding and with increased rain events. You know, I wonder what's been going on there for like the last 10 years. So was the comment that like a wider study was that
was trying to,
within the scope of what we were doing?
but we did it. We suggested it.
Okay,
Okay, yeah, we suggested that the county do a stormwater study to see what's going on with Glen Street.
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, because we also felt the same thing. And it was, yeah, so I appreciate that.
Almost exactly what we think.
Yeah. Because I actually I've watched and read the comments and got the names of the folks complaining and then looked up a parcel here where they live and it's just kind of thinking about that in relation to the site. It seems like there's a lot going on over there, so
Yeah,
not to at all to diminish what they're going through or anything.
Yeah.
And then I was really glad that we went through the sustainability checklist. And that is something that once the actual building designs and stuff come out, we could go back and fill it out again. Because there's certain things like the materials and that kind of thing that we could talk more about. So we could change that. Anyway, and I believe that where it stands is that the county is going to pay for demolition. I think that's what happened in the news, but I don't know if anyone else heard that, so. All right, so anyway, it was a fun, a little more time than I thought, but anyway, it was fun. Fun.
But I was able to connect with somebody in USDA. They actually have a conservation. He'd been part of the crew that developed the Cornell. Anyway, he explained a lot of things to me. Where they come from.
Right.
Alrighty. All right. Okay, where are we?
East Strand.
East Strand, anything at the planning department, Harley Avenue?
Nothing.
Okay. The Climate Action Council. Again, that is also due on July 1st. Two deadlines, July 1st. And I would just say, so I sent you guys a letter, one part of it that I would like to write include as the CAC. And I guess the way to do that, so did anyone see that? In regards to funding CACs and EMCs? Yes, so I can read it to you.
Definitely read it when you sent it, but I haven't retained.
That's a nice way to say it.
I think I saw it and I was like, that sounds good.
Okay, so basically it just says in land use that we should, that they should fund, figure out what day it is, so it's like, okay. It's under land use 5, mapping, research, planning, and assistance, and it says, assist local governments to create land use policies. DOS, DEC, and the legislature should assist county and local government to create land use policies, land conservation programs, and smart growth strategies that prioritize and protect wetlands, forest, grasslands, stream buffers, and other natural areas, such as the statewide authorization of Community Preservation Act, training and support on the use of CARA model local laws, comprehensive planning language, zoning, and other conservation approaches, and funding for conservation advisory committees and environmental management council. Blah. And so I just felt like that was a really nice thing for them to put in, and if we could come up with like 10 reasons how the funding could be used or why it would be important, I think, that's what I would like to be able to do. And we could just brainstorm right now and get it over with if we have time. Yeah, I think we do.
I'm also drafting some suggested resources. U.S. Department of Agriculture has done a number of things over the last 10, 15. They're still doing, like forage that produces less methane in cattle, some, things like that. Use of methane as an energy source for an individual farm. So I'm gonna direct them to the web page and what we call our national program staff who are dealing with those areas of research. So I'm gonna give her that information. Also, the Union of Concerned Scientists has a number of committees that are doing climate change related work. I've read bits and pieces of it, and it looks good. So I'm gonna give them that information as well.
Great.
Because one of the comments that was made in the first, that was the League of Women Voters webinar, was that they didn't have many ideas for agriculture,
Mhm.
even though it's the least contributor to the situation.
Mhm.
So I figured they
Yeah,
could
yeah,
use
that's
some
great.
contacts.
And the agriculture can, soils can sequester carbon and so on, so that's great, thank you.
So I can send it around if you guys want to take a look at it.
I wouldn't mind learning about it, yeah.
Okay,
And, okay, so can we come up with why would it, well, how we would use the funding if we got some funding? Like, in the past, and think broadly more than just us, because like in some CACs really need funding to have a secretary, or any other, well, because we have Julie, we may be different than like these other small CACs where almost everything is done by volunteers, so if they get funding, I don't know, you still have to kind of manage it, but maybe there would be less. It would be different than a grant, I guess.
Yeah,
So,
but in the past, I mean, just things like attending conferences,
right, funding
marketing
conferences.
materials.
Maybe like some speakers.
Right, guest speakers.
How do you feel about your role at the CAC? Like, does it take a lot of capacity? Do you like it, or would you want?
Even if I were to be a staff liaison and this were to be served by a hired person, I would still attend
Right.
as a sustainability coordinator,
Yeah,
because the CAC should not exist without exclusive knowledge of both.
Mhm.
So, but it is unusual on a state level that there is a staff liaison to a CAC. Most of them are just all volunteer, no, not necessarily a connection right like that to the municipality.
Yeah, so that like they're doing things like writing the grant to get the natural resources inventory, and then maybe managing that grant too. Some of them have actually done the mapping for the NRI if they have someone that's, but, and so because, like, we might outright the grant or look at it, but we are not doing the whole kit and caboodle. And so, and then they're also, so that's, because I see what the other groups are doing when I go to BMC, and they're pretty much doing everything.
Right.
Because SOPIS has a secretary, and we're all really jealous,
yeah.
but.
Yeah, I mean, most CACs, the work that they do is the work that my office is doing.
Yeah.
So like this, our CAC is an exception on state level. But there's still, like right now, this CAC, our CAC doesn't actually have an actual budget. So
Right.
if there was something that even we wanted to do, that I wouldn't fund in my department, like that is something that we could support.
Yeah, like a professional membership, like the New York State,
Association of Conservation
right.
Commissions, yep.
We are members, you guys are getting emails for that.
Yep.
But Julie decided to pay for that in the budget, but we usually actually just like throw in $20 each to
Right.
have it. to be a member, so.
Yep.
Yeah, so even, actually, I'm gonna put in refreshments, you know?
Yeah.
Not for us,
Well,
but
you
like
just
if we were
pay for,
hosting this tonight, you know, it's nice to have something for people.
yeah,
I just want to pause, Tanya is saying that the audio quality is very poor, and she was wondering if there's any way the microphone could be closer to us,
Or we can move to them.
or we could move from,
the microphone is coming out of this,
okay. it's
Not
in
my
the
computer.
TV. Okay.
So should we sit closer to the TV? Well, why don't,
talk louder or?
can you hear Julie?
Can you hear?
Oh, she's.
Well, with the texting, it's not gonna be
Yeah,
efficient, but I'll move to this corner here.
Okay.
yeah, I would say that everyone just speaks louder. I'm not gonna move this, because this is like.
No, I can sit next to Kevin.
With the masks too, you know.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, no, help either.
Okay.
So anyway, I've got 6 right now, but because I just want to kind of make this little comment to the scoping plan and get it out. And so does anyone else have any other ideas of why, you know, how the money can be spent and why it's such a good idea?
I think this was kind of mentioned when the conversation first started, but like, and I don't know what the city's, how we're the city's like budget for communications and stuff, but just like awareness and engagement with, you know, printing flyers or things like that.
Right.
Would be nice.
Okay. Yeah, because it, yeah, just even some,
Yeah, things for branding, like a banner for when, if you're tabling at something, or like
mhm.
brochures, or
But also, yeah,
official logo. Again, like if we're thinking out state level things that CACs would want.
Right.
Not necessarily what we
Yeah.
need.
and this feels like it's gonna break.
Yeah, furniture is.
I'm not gonna sit in that one, actually.
It's pretty.
So. Yeah, I think that's all really good. Because also just doing a resolution, like we do a resolution, but someone else could help. Just clerically or something.
But yeah, even just simple things like printing supplies.
Right.
Like my department covers the cost of the agendas and things, you know.
Okay. That sounds good. Okay, I think other than that, we kind of decided that it was too much to take on to do our, a joint comments. Yeah. And I've looked at some stuff and I could tell you what I think is important. I think, because there's so much, but the land use.
It's clearly an outline,
Yeah,
and the individual agencies are going to be doing more of the specific side. And I think that's where we need to be paying more attention.
and I just also, you can tell that it definitely was written by different people, which is, of course, that happens. I will say one thing that really jumped out, if you look at the waste section, the DEC stopped calling waste about 12 years ago, and they started calling it materials management. And the whole section is waste, and when you read things like that, then it kind of gives you a little different feel than if you say materials management. So our materials like recycling materials and it's like, okay, so next step, anything more on that? Okay, Ted let us know that our New York, New Jersey Watershed Protection Act's memorial resolution was passed last night by the
Yes,
CAC.
I think
By
I
the
just
Common
copied
Council.
Emily, but I should have copied
Yeah.
her, but yes, it was approved. I was not able to attend the common council meeting, but I did go last month and talk about it at public safety, and everyone's on board. It was approved unanimously, and I let Maddie from Scenic Hudson know that she can add us to our list of cities who have supported that.
And that's a good idea, because like, also, if we didn't have a lot of support, someone else takes that whole thing and figures out how to send it and tell someone that it got passed, right?
Yep.
Not just Maddie, someone else does it. And maybe the CACs are doing more of that kind of thing. All right, for new business, apparently the EPR bill that Englebright passed already went through the state and the assembly and is on the governor's desk. And the same thing with the Booker Bill bond bill. So I don't think there's a deadline. And I haven't been able to kind of synthesize everything in the Englebright bill. But the idea was that it would be more, one thing, the EPR again is extended producer responsibility, and that the industry would not be policing itself. There would be another industry. And the bigger bottom bill has been around for over 12 years, I think, even longer. And it's 10 cents for containers instead of 5. And it would include the teas and the juices that are not, because it used to be carbonated beverages only, then it went to water, and then it would go to juices and teas. And there's stuff about who gets paid what, refunded the nickels or dimes and so. That would be good.
Is it approved?
That's what I saw in the, it was a bit.
This is the Assembly, not the Senate.
Is that the bigger bill?
Yeah, this is the.
Wait, is this
They're sponsoring.
but wait, is it better, bigger, bottom bill? Or
Relates
the-
to returnable bottles.
Oh, it had wines, liquors, distilled spirits. Okay, I thought anyway, so let's just say
I'm not sure what happened. Let's go to the Senate, to see what the Senate did.
Okay. Okay, is there anything on, I think he does that. Is there anything on, do you have any more follow-up on the pollinator bill?
Yes, that's on my list. The Birds and Bees Protection Act in New York State didn't not pass, but legislative session closed before they got to it this year. So they're gonna restart the effort next year and hopefully it gets passed.
So there's more time to support it?
Yeah, and it seems like Catskill Mountain Keeper is really taking like a big advocacy lead with it. That's the email I'm subscribed to. That's how I stay up to date on it. Or the mailing list I'm subscribed to.
Mhm.
And they send out, an email saying they're disappointed, but they're not giving up and they're gonna go harder next year. So, yeah. That's the update on that.
And what is it doing?
It's banning the use of,
Neonicotinoids.
yes,
Ah.
neonicotinoids. Yes,
Huge problem.
and apparently there's, a huge lobby behind not getting it passed too, so. Yeah, do you know if there's been like local bans on that, or does that have to be a state?
Not on a city level.
I don't know how you could ever enforce that. It seems like it would have to be a big ban.
What is the common application of it?
They coat seeds with it, but also it's used in like a lot of just weed killer, like I think you can get at the hardware store.
So, I mean, on a county level, they have on the county properties, they have a non-toxic landscape management policy. We are putting forward one at
Okay,
our level. But that again will only apply to municipal property, municipal use.
mhm.
I don't know how that would look on a citywide level, or if there's precedent for that at all.
Okay, go research that.
Some of it is, it's become standard practice to coat seeds with it to protect them from insects.
Yeah,
And it gets transmitted into the growing plant then somehow.
mhm.
Which would be avoided by buying organic seeds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it also, that's the stuff that affects the bees, right?
It's really,
The homing.
it impacts their behavior,
Mhm.
and it's just nasty stuff. Well, it was built to be nasty to insects.
Okay, I just want to, I just realized that I didn't understand. I couldn't read this diagram, but neither of the two bills about Englebright's bill or the bigger better bottle bill, okay. They're nowhere near being passed. Okay, so the bigger bottle bill is in committee. And the extended producer, I think, is also in. And just while we're talking on the extended producer for a minute, the paint care project started. So if you go to the hardware store and look at and buy paint, there's a brochure now and you can take paint in and it's more than paint. But like I go to Herzog's a lot and they already said that their shipping container or whatever is already full, so they weren't going to take any more. But you're also paying like 95 cents on a gallon to fund the project, the program. But that's really pretty innovative and
Recyclable paint.
yes. Yeah. So check that out. All right. Right, so for open issue discussion, again, we're just trying to decide if there's anything we can do, like if, about, say, pesticides for grounds here on, we could support that. And, if there's any other things we want to do, like support the pollinator, when we can do, or we could do something, more specific to us. I do want to say, Julie, that there is Oriental bittersweet going up the tree right over there, the bush so badly that you can't even tell that it's not Oriental bittersweet. So on the corner of the building.
Okay.
So, every time.
Start at small.
Small project. It's right by the bike racks, that's why I noticed it. Okay, so, open communications, are there any communications that? I guess communicating with Suzanne on Golden Hill, I never know where to put that, so, but we communicated that.
Right, that would be under communications. None other received.
Did you receive a communication from Suzanne?
No, we sent the,
Yeah,
the planning board.
that went under.
What about the Bitcoin stuff?
She went, I didn't, I had a conflict. Do you mean, do you want to know about Bitcoin?
Well, did someone reach out to us on the issue? I
No.
don't remember the email. Or-
No, it was just the legal women voters had
Okay,
a speaker on it last
It was
Thursday, and I thought
frightening.
you two would be interested in it.
okay.
I know, I knew almost nothing about Bitcoin. People are spending inordinate amounts of electricity,
Yes.
Yeah,
setting up farms that. It's,
Yeah, competing farms.
yeah,
It is, it's very scary, and, yeah. And
I
there,
just-
there's some gonna be banned.
I just saw the email come through, but I was wondering if there was like an ask for us
No.
as a committee. Okay.
Although I think there might be something, I think there is legislation, but I haven't found. Yeah.
Okay.
Announcements and events. Reports and updates, planning board, Kevin.
well, we already went through Golden Hill.
Mhm.
Do you have any other thing that was still on the agenda is Kingstonian again? Both under old business, the new business, I don't know if there's anything that you have referred to.
Okay, anything else on public safety?
No, the only question I got on the Watershed Protection Act was they wanted some examples of ways that funding might be used. But yeah, there wasn't much discussion.
And Ted, that's been approved by public safety to go to the full council, or it's been signed off by the council? Or
The council
Signed it up. I
signed it off.
the council signed it off, because it's.
Yeah, last night.
It's not in the committee, okay. so it's-
Yeah, last night.
And I watched the recording on YouTube and there was no
Okay.
discussion.
Okay, and then anything on climate smart?
It's similar to last month. Melinda came back, Melinda Herzog, and she presented, this time we had a quorum. So I think that the text for that discussion is gonna be almost identical. I mean, it's the same presentation that she did. So
Okay,
it had to do with PE9, and that's one of the climate. And it's similar to last month. Presented this time we had a quorum. So I think that the text for that discussion is
Sign the law, okay.
presentation. Like deja vu or something.
There's a lag.
Yeah, so, well, anyway, Melinda presented again.
Melinda Herzog,
Yeah.
that's CAC, and she,
We're not wrong.
yeah, CCE, Cornell Cooperative Extension, and she's leading some resilience outreach.
Yeah, and regional information is to include, but is not limited to climate and extreme weather, emergency notification systems, emergency planning, disaster preparedness information, first aid, CPR, power outage information, flu and pandemic information, and then there's local information, which is expected to include local emergency information from websites, social media, radio, information concerning emergency shelters and cooling centers, pet shelters, food pantries, soup kitchens, drinking water, dry ice information, evacuation routes, emergency parking, and public utility information. And there's a link. I think that pretty much covers what Melinda was doing. As far as the rest of the meeting went, besides that, we were discussing refrigerants again.
Hmm.
Yeah. And there's a grant opportunity coming up.
So we're gonna be applying to
Yeah.
the consolidated funding application to do a refrigerants program. Which will be 5 parts, which will be our refrigerants, white goods, Amnesty Day, where we collect white, or a week, whatever it is, we collect white goods for no fee. Refrigerant inventory and management of what we currently use on the municipality. A policy, changing the policy about purchasing materials with refrigerants so that we're using better refrigerants than what currently we might be using. Education, and also hiring someone to kind of manage the refrigerant processes in both our vehicles and our HVAC system.
For not the stuff that's being put up to the curb, taken to the.
And that, yep, and that too, yeah.
Great.
How was the Earth Day festival, your
Huge.
turnout with that?
I hoped that we would get 8 and I would be 6, and I would be excited about 8, and we got a dozen.
Cool,
So that's more than DPW gets in a year.
that's awesome.
Did they literally bring those in their cars?
People literally brought refrigerators, dehumidifiers, and air conditioners in their vehicles to Forsyth Park. We also got an entire dump truck filled with e-waste, which is so interesting because people can bring e-waste anytime for free to the transfer station or Agra, but we got an entire dump truck full of everything from as big as mega TVs to as little as like flash drives and like little.
So you
night
filled
lights.
the dump truck.
Filled it.
That's awesome.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, a roll-off with refrigerant, with white goods, and a dump truck filled with e-waste.
Cool.
That's great.
Yes, huge.
I didn't know you could bring e-waste for free. I have a pile.
Everyone's got a pile.
Yeah,
You can bring it for free
Cool.
to the transfer station.
Yeah, Saturday mornings is the best. They're not open.
It's only open Fridays and Saturdays.
But I think also Agra reopened theirs.
Yeah.
Drop off.
cool.
All right, great. Oh, I'm just gonna, has anything ever happened with the Hudson Valley Regional Council and the food waste study?
I still meet bi-weekly with the Hudson Valley Regional Council. We're still putting together the draft. I've been told it will be done by the end of June. I don't know if that is the case or not. I will keep you posted.
Okay, I just want to say that Pat Pomeroy is retiring and she was the head of the Hudson Valley Regional Council and
Carla Castillo,
Carla
Will be taking over.
Castillo is going to be.
which is the reason why my plan needs to be done by the end of June, because Carla needs to move into a different role. So Carla is the one writing the plan. So.
Okay, so the Ulster County Environmental Management Council, I did not attend because something came up at the last minute. Our speaker didn't show up. So it was mostly just roundabouts and what's going on in the county. But I kind of know some of the other stuff that's going on. They don't know where I got this such information, but it's still. So at the EMC meeting, the county planning department usually reports on, and so does the Department of Energy, Environment. And I believe they're hiring. Anyway, Michael Darcy works 1 day a week on food waste and 4 days a week on green business stuff. So that's really good. And I don't think there's anything more in terms of, and I don't know what the speaker is next time. And again, we meet the 5th. We're having the last Thursday, so it's pretty late in June when we're meeting. I think we're meeting the 29th then. Okay, tree commission.
Yes, we just met before this meeting. This was fascinating to me. They are re-signing as they do annually, the treaty with the local Lenape tribe. And the tribe is donating an apple tree that's going in across from the Maritime Museum somewhere.
Who is resigning? The
The
county,
city,
the city? Wow,
yeah. I just,
wow.
yeah. Apparently this has been going on since whenever, long time. The spring tree planting took place. They planted 21 trees. And the planting process garnered a lot more interest for the fall.
So is this the 21 trees that were paid for with the grant?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
However, the cost of the trees is, like everything else, more than it used to. So they're gonna have about 2/3 the number of trees, unfortunately. They're planting mostly tupelo and a couple of shad bush. And the tree commission people had gone out to a number of neighborhoods and went door to door, which generated a bunch of interest too. So,
That is so good.
that's going well. Then we had a visitor come in and make an impassioned request that the tree commission pay attention to the draft planning code and make sure they include shade trees in areas that need shade trees. So I said I would bring it up here again. And there's a Lenape tribe member who's participating. So great.
What did they do with the Lenape people? This is like rewriting the old treaty?
They're re-signing, which apparently they do this every year. It's August 5th, it will be down at the Maritime Museum in conjunction with the presence of the Clearwater. And apparently this is something the tribe and the city do once a year. And this year the tribe is donating an apple tree. Because there's a tale about why the treaty came about, and it was 2 Indian women started picking somebody's apples and got shot for it.
Oh, God.
And that evolved into a specific treaty. That's neat stuff.
Yeah.
So that's an event that we can look forward to going to on August 5th.
Yeah. If I don't hear any more about it, I will pass it on. I may not, won't come again until September.
Yeah,
Where is the apple tree going?
by the Maritime
By
Center.
the
Down across from the Maritime Museum, yeah.
Right, okay.
I guess the city owns a piece of property down
Yeah, I'm not sure where it's going.
there.
That's cool.
And that fits in with their Arbor Day, in which they planted a fruit tree in one of the public gardens down in the same area,
The Rondout.
in the Rhonda. Yeah. And so now there's talk, I'm not sure who's involved in this. There's some planning going on about shade trees and so forth along the green line and things.
Mm.
And they're gonna talk some more about putting in fruit trees,
Right.
Mhm.
because that's been well received.
Yeah. Okay, I don't have anything more. Thank you, Anita. Well, Okay. Let's keep on to the next meeting.
6 o'clock.
All right. So, adjourn, any motions?
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, Ted.
I'll second.
6:12.
We need some more people on this committee.
All right, are we adjourned?
Yes.
All right, I'm gonna stop recording.
Yep.
And I'm gonna